Hey guys, hello and welcome to another episode of GameHammer Dailies. Today we're doing the third and final part of our look at the FIFA games. Pretty good football games so far. We've had some good ones, we've had some not so good ones, we've had some I really can't recommend at all. But is it going to live up to high standards for the end? Let's take a look. FIFA 2009 is where the PlayStation 2 version has had a lot more focus on it than for several iterations now. Graphically, it's a lot nicer, and the gameplay is far better. There are a lot of extra tweaks here and there, and I have to say, it's all very much appreciated. It's still not perfect, in fact the players don't feel as responsive as they should, for example, but it is a big step in the right direction for the series. That's interesting, there's now an indicator of where the ball's going to land when you kick it, so that's useful. I prefer zoomed in a bit so I can see what's going on properly, but it's nice to know that they have done some changes. There's too much weight behind the movement. It's not as responsive as it was before. It feels like it's not properly listening to what's going on. Yeah, I'm turning and kicking, and then like half a second later, the character is doing what I tell them to. There's a definite delay on this. So now we've had 11 versions of FIFA on the PlayStation 2. There have been some high points, and more recently in the series, there have been some big low points. With FIFA 2010, all the problems of the recent games have been sorted out, and I do mean all of them. I think the AI has been upgraded quite a way. This feels like a decent game. This feels almost as good as 2006, which I think is still beating it at the moment, but we'll see how we go. It just goes to show that changing things up every year can result in some good things. And also result in FIFA 9, but this is good. This version is a pleasure to play. It looks great despite the stupidly zoomed out perspective that the series has now decided to stick with for some strange reason, and the slow responsiveness of FIFA 2009 has been resolved. The game plays smoothly, it's very responsive, and I had a lot of fun playing it. I really have to say, this is probably my favourite of the series so far, and when you consider that I really enjoyed FIFA 2006, that's saying a lot. If you want one of the late releases, FIFA 2010 is a great choice. It scored very highly in reviews, and for a very good reason. What goes up must come down, sadly. FIFA 2011 has made some changes, and they aren't good. The responsiveness doesn't feel quite right. I couldn't put my finger on what was wrong, but there was definitely something not right about the game, and it harms the gameplay. The controls don't handle quite right. It doesn't feel quite as tight as last time. Yeah, everything's a little bit slower to move. I think the animations have got extra frames or something in them. Like start and end frames or something, just to slow you down a little bit. It's not quite right. It feels a little jerky. That's one of the problems that comes from tweaking the game engine year on year. While I appreciate the added effort and the focus on making the game different and hopefully better each year rather than just adjusting the graphics and increasing the number by one, sometimes we have to say less is more. The game doesn't compare well to 2010, so I'd recommend sticking with that one instead of grabbing this. Now we're in the end game, so to speak. There are 3 games left in the series on the PlayStation 2, and by this point it's obvious to everyone that this mighty console is on its last legs. Can EA pull the series back up to its former height? Let's take a look. In short, yes. FIFA 2012 is a smooth game to play. It looks wonderful, it controls really nicely, and whatever they have done to mess with the responsiveness in 2011 has been tweaked to make the game feel more like FIFA 2010 again. They've tweaked the movement, the controls work better. This is basically an enhanced version of 2011. I'm not going to complain about that because this is actually not bad. Is it better than 2010? I'm not sure. I think it's probably on a par. So far, it appears to be on a par. I can't fault this addition to the series. It's a very fun game to play, and it looks lovely to boot. So, can FIFA 2013 follow on from that impressive return to form? Surprisingly, yes, it can. The engine appears to be the same as that from 2012. The menus are certainly all the same, and they both look and function exactly as before. So I have to wonder what exactly has been tweaked this time around. It's probably just the graphics, to be honest, because the game plays pretty much the same as it played in the previous game.
I won't complain too much though, because I enjoyed that game a lot, and this is essentially more of the same.
Yeah, this is fine. This is just basically 2012 with a few tweaks. By this point, EA are definitely not spending a huge amount of time and effort on the PlayStation 2 version. They're basically just tweaking what they already had to make sure they can release a new game. The engine has definitely been tightened up a bit. The graphics are a little bit sharper. Everything looks quite nice. I still don't like the fact that we zoom down so far. They look like tiny studio figures. But at the same time, the game isn't bad. This is fine. I can play this and I enjoy it. Nothing wrong with this at all, so I've zoomed out a little bit too far for my liking, but at this point I'm going to say this is an aesthetics thing and you're either going to like it or not like it, because clearly it was a success.
Finally, we have FIFA 2014, and by this point EA really have given up on the PlayStation 2. They know that there's not enough money left in the PS2 market to justify an entire development team working on this version of their annual title, but at the same time they do know that there's still enough money to be had in doing a quick update on the FIFA 2013 engine to keep the rosters correct for the new season, so ship a very quick tweak is what they did. At least they were decent enough to actually tell us that on the box, I suppose. Legacy Edition. Only rosters and team strips have been updated. So this should play just as well as FIFA 2013 did, right? Yeah. It's exactly the same game.
Yep, feels exactly like 2013 did. Same game. Absolutely same game. The engine is not being tweaked. Doesn't feel different at all.
If you're a collector, the only reason to grab FIFA 2014 for your collection is to have FIFA 2014 as a number on your shelves. It's the same game as FIFA 2013, which is arguably easier to get, and let's face it, FIFA 2013 wasn't all that different to FIFA 2012. So in other words, if you have any of those three games, you've got something so similar to the other two that it will be very difficult to tell them apart when playing them, and therefore very difficult for the average gamer to justify having all three. Only go for all three if you absolutely must complete the set, and to be honest, you can expand that statement to cover the entire series. There are some very good games in the FIFA series, don't get me wrong, but unless you absolutely have to have the full set, I can wholeheartedly recommend avoiding most of it. And there you are. As you can see, there have been some high points and some low points, but I think we can all agree the series went out on a pretty high point. I mean, sure, the last one was basically a reskin. In fact, it essentially was. It says on the back of the box that it is a reskin of the one before it, but at the end of the day, it was a good game, and I enjoyed it. I like playing it, so if you get any of those, like 2001 was good, 2003 was good, 2006 was excellent, the World Cup one not quite as good as the mainstream one, but still not too bad, 2010 was great, 12 was great, 13 was great, and 14 was great. So any of those, you've got a good football game, and I think you'll enjoy it. But that's all we've got time for, so thank you very much, and I'll see you later for more GameHammer Daily.